Committee meeting to order. The date is December 14th. The time is 3:01. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bug, and myself, Alderman Franco. First order of business is approval of the minutes, 23-0989. Approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on November 30th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. We have a second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak?
No.
Okay. We're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to move 23-0993 to number 1, and that is a resolution authorizing Director of Purchasing to enter into a managed services agreement for a public safety and municipal radio system from L3 Harris Corporation, Lynchburg, Virginia, for an amount of $15,900,000 for 10 years. And Mr. Anderson? Or Mr. Biggis? Or...
Good afternoon, Chairman Franco. Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO. And John, thank you for keeping me straight here with the slide deck as we go through it. We're here today to talk about the public safety radio system we have from L3 Harris. We've had it for years now, at least 15 years. Police, fire, and public works use that for all the communications. And so, you know, today here with us we have Jeff Olson, Jack Scully. Jeff is the Director of Sales for L3 Harris. Jeff's been, I'm going to read Jeff's bio here unless you want to. Jeff, why don't you come up and
Sure.
Yeah.
So good afternoon. Jeff Olson, I'm the Director of Sales for L3 Harris. Been with the company about 5 years. I've got over 25 years of working with wireless and telecom, and 17 of those have been with local and state government. I'm very passionate about this project. I'm very passionate about what we do for first responders and the communities that they serve, the importance of our technology and the solution we brought to the table. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but I just want to kind of introduce myself, and I'll certainly be here for questions as well. So Jack, you want to come up?
Thank you, Jeff.
My name is Jack Scully. I'm with L3 Harris Technologies, and I've been your sales guy for about 8 years. We've been your supplier for the last 15 years, so we know you pretty well. We know what your needs are. We know how the system runs. We know the lay of the land, and we're very happy to be able to continue that relationship for the next 10 years with this new agenda. I would like to thank Jeff and Mike Peggy's. They led us into a kind of a new business model for our company. They're doing a lot of things right now where they're reducing all of the daily procurements that require a lot of administrative work and time-consuming efforts. When we can wrap that all up into a 10-year contract, we save a lot of money, a lot of resources along the way. And Jeff and Mike have made that, kind of brought that, sometimes we have to pull agendas through our large bureaucratic organization, and I thank those guys for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack and Jeff, and also with us here too. And this will be kind of a tag team presentation. So we've got Deputy Chief Osmond here from the Fire Department, Lieutenant Handel's here from the Police Department, and Tracy Van Hook is our radio system specialist as well. So they'll jump up at appropriate times here. Conversation. Mike, do you have anything? Okay, Mike's just going to observe today. Okay, so today's current system, we're using. If you want to switch this to the next one, John, are you controlling that one for me? There we go. We're using Harris's Open Sky system. That's actually becoming into life, right? So this is, I won't step through the agenda here. We'll cover the pages, but you can see our agenda here. We're going to talk about the current system, talk about the upgrade system benefits here, why we need to go to P25, what that's all about, and then why we went after this with really a unique, like Jack explained, 10-year approach to this. At a high level, I'll just say up front what we wanted to get out of was the every 3 to 5 years really significant capital outlays to upgrade back-end servers, upgrade full suite of radios, et cetera, that we've just been in here even as recently as 2019 and 2020. Okay, so the Harris radio system currently it's 15 years old. It's at end of life here for Harris. The equipment is getting hard to get. It's hard to keep available. We currently have 8 radio tower sites, and we'll show those on a map here coming up soon as well. So that's the system we're currently replacing. And I guess we can go to the next slide here. I'll have Tracy come up and talk about all of what we've got here on this slide and why it's important about P25.
Greetings, Council. So we have, it says that it's P25. P25 is a standard that was created in 2012. And the reason why that standard was created was so that different vendors could communicate via interoperability. So we're migrating from the Open Sky system to P25, which will there in turn allow us to communicate with various agencies such as Elgin, Kane County. We're currently doing that with Naperville because we have the same system, but that's one of the main premises of us going to P25 in summary of this slide here. Another reason is because we're going to P25 is that it gives us a greater footprint in terms of coverage within our city. So, thank you. Oh, any questions?
I got a question.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I know Jeff introduced you, but if you give your name and title too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tracy Van Hook, telecom engineer.
Okay, thank you. So the P25 system is being used by us, or us in Naperville. You're saying Elgin?
Currently, right now, we're on Open Sky.
Okay.
So
We're gonna go.
the city of Aurora and Naperville are on Open Sky today. What we're going to do is we're going to upgrade to P25. P25 will allow us to communicate with other agencies via certain gateways so that we can seamlessly communicate with another system that is not L3 Harris.
So would this give us the opportunity to communicate with people who are not using P25? You have to be on, I'm trying to figure out.
That is correct.
Okay, so.
That you just
we're
summarized what I
P25,
said,
all right,
yes.
'cause, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. That's kind of what I was thinking. If they're not on it, can we communicate with them?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, let me just confirm. So Tracy, is it not true we are required to move to P25?
Correct.
And the deadline to do that is when?
That deadline probably is going to be in a couple years. I'm thinking, if my memory serves me correctly, that's going to be 2026, 2027.
So
We're ahead of the game.
we wanted to be ahead of the game. That's why we're bringing it forward now so that we can hit the ground running in January because of the intensive implementation of this. I was on the original city team with Naperville when we brought in Harris. Just quickly, they've performed magnificently. Back then, they were the clear differentiator in not just performance, but coverage. And a lot went into vetting out the city, its buildings, its infrastructure, to make sure for public safety, for the officers on the fire side and police, that we could get into even the most difficult buildings and, dead zones or dead spots. And the technology has performed very, very well. And I just want to say, the 10-year, the team put a lot of effort and thought into this 10-year concept, very, very similar to what we brought forward with Axon. And so we're confident, regardless of what anybody else is doing, including Naperville, we're very confident working with both our public safety leadership and our IT leadership and Harris, that this is the next evolution of this and gets us in compliance with the P25. So there are a lot of wins here, and I just want to thank all the teams involved for really working hard on this and bringing this forward.
Alderman Bart.
Thank you. Okay, so you said we are required to go to it.
Yes, sir.
Is Naperville, in the legislation text, it kind of touched on where Naperville was at. Of course, where they're back up, there are back up. Are they required to go to it by 26, 27?
So, yes, sir, everyone is required to go to P25.
Okay.
They are, at this point, they've got an RFP on the street to get their own radio towers and the whole thing, and the discussion points at this point are, we still could share, but there also, the option is there for them to go their own way if they chose. And so we're going to march ahead with what we need to do for the city of Aurora. Right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
But no matter what route Naperville goes, we will be their backup, they will be our backup.
How that technically works is yet to be determined, but yes, the essence of what you said could be correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before, I'm just gonna hit it
Sure.
now before, and I don't know if this relates. Mr. Alexandru, we've had the discussion a lot. Is this gonna help on the 911 side? Because we talked about hitting dead zones. We've talked about that a lot. Hitting our unincorporated, or you live in the city, but you're next to unincorporated area.
Okay.
And 911 and those types of things. Is this gonna help?
It definitely will, and the team will address that, but I also want to be clear, some of these dead zone issues we've experienced were cellular in nature. They weren't part of our radio system. So at no time during those incidents did the Harris radio system 911 dispatch cause any issue. It was the original phone call-in was cellular and got bounced to the wrong. So we continue to work on that, but it has no bearing on the performance of Harris
Okay.
or the city's 911 system.
Understand. Okay.
Right. And so then to just add on to what Tracy had added here, to say on the slide, this was developed as a technology in 1989. Things take a while to come and become the standard, and it was adopted and really mandated after the events on 9/11. Right, and we can actually, and Deputy Chief Osmond here, he can actually maybe speak a little bit about how not being able to communicate with other agencies has affected us.
Thanks, Jeff. Deputy Chief Dan Osmond, Aurora Fire Department. Yeah, I know with 9/11, communication was a huge problem, but closer to home, or actually at home, was our Henry Pratt incident. Our police officers and firefighters and medics worked together in the same teams, entering and exiting. Communication wasn't terrible between those teams. It's as other departments came in from all over the place, and communication was terrible. Hard to talk to them, and we all know that communication is the essence of getting through a tough emergency situation. So there is a need. We've needed it here, and we're here to support it.
Thank you. So we'll move away from the standards page here, and we'll just talk a little bit about how we got here to this point. For those of you that may or may not remember, thank you, Mike. In 2019 Resolution R19 2009 or 2009 allowed us to upgrade the back-end PSAP and the consoles, and I have a slide here that'll show exactly what that means, but that's the back-end servers at the 911 center, so all the radio communication comes through all the towers, back to the 911 center and back out to all the officers. That was step one in this. The next step here is to upgrade the RF tower sites and the radios to get them to P25. Okay, so it's important to note that the core computers, you hear us use core throughout this, and you probably saw it in the resolution as well, those servers at APD will support both OpenSky and P25 as we go through this process. Okay, so we go to the next slide. Thank you. So this one just illustrates what I said on the previous page, is that the core servers that are at APD at this point, they support both OpenSky and P25. This portion of the program is to upgrade the radio heads to make them P25 capable and upgrade the radios themselves, and then get us onto a 10-year program. So we can talk a little bit about P25 here. We can talk about coverage. Trace, did you want to cover some of these, or do you want? Okay. So the P25 system, and I'll use an analogy here, right? It's at a different frequency, a lower frequency, right? And so when you're in an apartment or in a dorm room, you heard the bass from the people down the hall or people below you. You heard those lower frequencies. You didn't hear the higher frequencies because they penetrated. They penetrated better into the building, and that's an analogy that probably isn't exactly technically right, but that's the essence of what we're after here. Is so we'll have 95% of the area will have better coverage. 95% of our indoor areas will have better coverage than what we provided today, and we'll be 100% compliance with the FCC on this. Okay. So if I go to the next page, you'll see on this page, the white area shows where our open sky coverage is at. With the blue areas, you can see there's a few in the city. And this is indoor coverage, is what we're showing here. There are a few areas in the city that we do not get as good a coverage as what we would like. Okay, the white area is where we're getting the solid indoor coverage, and that's based on where the 8 radio towers are located. Okay. So if I go to the next slide then, so this is what the P25 indoor solution will provide for us. You can see there's much better indoor coverage. It's at a different frequency level. And it's a much higher coverage percentage indoors. Okay, and in addition, instead of 8 tower sites, we'll have 6 to maintain at this point. So frees up those locations for other uses, if we want to keep those as towers and use those to rent those out, we can do that. We can use it for other things. Okay, so does that make sense? The difference between the two, the coverage between the two. So how do we get here, right? How do we make the jump from open sky to P25? We could continue on the a la carte method like we've done so far, where we buy things as we need them and we replace things. So radio or antenna breaks, that's a request from Tracy over to Harris, and there's invoices that go back and forth and those kinds of things, right? That cover those types of things that need to be purchased that way, like Jack was pointing to, kind of the administrative stuff that goes back and forth. And this is exactly what we do today. We've got a separate procurement. You'll see in some of the budgets, everybody has their cost for radios. They're buying their radios. In the managed service approach, we require a one-time negotiation, which is this contract. It includes all the infrastructure, all things radio, as Jack told us several times, right? And the budget is set for life for the life of the contract. So if I jump to the next page, there's a lot on this. I'll really just jump to the far right and talk about financials. It moves us from a CapEx model, where we're heavy capital expenditures, buying radios, buying servers, buying equipment, to more of an OpEx model, where it's flat, it's predictable, it's more of a license, like what we do with the Axon body cameras, like we do with most of our other technology, where we're using it as almost a subscription-based model. So I flip to the next slide. This is really the money slide, if you will. So with the Open Sky solution, the current 10-year spend we've had with Harris is about $18 million. Okay. If we stayed the way we were progressing now, based on the radio usage we have now, and at today's costs, the a la carte program would cost us $21,674,000. Okay. So standard services year to year, each step requires procurement, et cetera. The new 10-year managed services model we're proposing here is $15,900,000. So there's a savings not only on what we spent the last 10 years, right, but what we would expect to spend in the next 10. So we're less than what we spent and what we expect to spend, which I think is unique, and it points to really the creativity we put in on both sides here with both the Harris team, the L3 Harris team, and the city team to try and work through this. I'll stop there and take any questions and we go into.
Well, I got a question.
Sure.
If I'm Harris, why wouldn't I want 21 million? Why would I go into a contract that's only going to pay me 15 million over 10 years where the a la carte was 21 million? I get it for us. I don't get it for them.
It's funny you asked that, Chair, because I was thinking that myself. It's like, well, what vendor would not want $6 more million? What's really cool? Yes, indeed.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm waiting.
No, what's truly unique about this partnership and relationship is, and I'm not saying that just because I'm in front of you, it's true. When a vendor works with a partner like Aurora, and they come to us and they say, hey, we've got, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but we've got an issue we want to solve for. Can you help us? And they explained to us what they did with the Axon body cams, and I don't know if you did it with, your tough books, your laptops, whatever, and said, we kind of want to get out of the radio business. We don't want to deal with the headaches of this or that change order. We got to go back in front of the finance committee and ask for more money. Weren't you guys just in here, 2 months ago asking for money? And so I took it back to my leadership, and I said, this is pretty unique, but stick with me, and we'll run the financial analysis. And what's in it for us is, A, we solved a problem that our customer asked for. And B, if you have the ability to have a customer for the next 10 years versus every couple of years they might go out for RFP. Think about the money and resources and time it saves us to spin up a bunch of people internally, engineers, finance folks, things of that nature. It takes a lot of time and money to work those projects for us. So we basically have this thing on rails for the next 10 years, and you guys don't have to worry about any time of antenna snaps, or battery breaks, or anything like that. So it really speaks to the partnership. But what's really cool about it, too, I wanted to share is, we've been working on this for 3 years, kind of brainstorming it, modeling it out, things of that nature. And as I took it to my leadership, they said this could be the new wave. Like Aurora might have set the standard for how we do business going forward in this industry, which is a pretty cool story to tell.
So this model is initiated by Aurora. I mean, this is the first time ever
This-
communities have this 10-year service type of agreement.
No, what typically happens, sir, is they'll do a system. So in this case, 6-site system, and we'll work on the microwave in the backhaul, and then the radios will be upgraded or whenever, and then there'll become a refresh again and again. And we'll do a core upgrade because we have to upgrade all the servers, the Dell servers, the Cisco items, and things like that. And then when that's being done, we put people in a maintenance contract, okay? And the maintenance contract can be 5 years or 10 years. We took all this and bundled it all into one. So it's all under one roof, and it's not different contracts, if you will, one for the system, one for the maintenance, and things like that. So it is the beta. But with betas can come negativity, thinking of like, okay, it's going to work fine. It's going to be on rails. Everything is covered for the city of Aurora. So we're pretty excited about it, and we're looking at. I've got a lot of my peers around the country asking me, "Can you share more with me? Can you explain it to me? I want to, bring this to this, this customer or that customer." So it's pretty cool to be a part of this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This allows us to plan very efficiently for the future. We know how many people we need. We know what facilities we need. We know the radio systems really well. So we know what we're going to need to maintain those, what we're going to need to refresh those. It just allows us to extend contracts longer and, save a lot of resources all the way around. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Bay, you have a question?
Thank you, Chairman. So at the end of this contract, city will not own any equipment? We're just leasing it? Leasing all of
The physical infrastructure we still own, the towers, those kinds of things, the buildings around them, exactly. And when we get to the couple slides later, what you'll see is there's sort of a walk into what year 10, what years 8, 9, and 10 would look like. We would have got a refresh, I believe, in year 6 and 7. So we'd be looking at another refresh due at that point anyway. And I'm sure that once we got into this, we would look to extend this at some point, assuming it's all working well, right? Which it will, right? So years 8, 9, and 10, we would most likely start this up again and figure out what the next set of years looks like as part of this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and again, what we didn't want to do was get into, these radios are not like the $100 radios you get at Radio Shack. They're several $1,000s, and you end up buying them and you figure out they don't work, or, and you got to hold them, right? And so all of these costs. So I'll go back to what we did in 2019, and just to, it's kind of that, not really a fear, but it's those big capital outlays. The servers were replaced in 2020 for the back-end cores and the desktop units, the consoles that they had there. Those were running Windows Vista. In 2020, which I believe is a 1998 technology, right, in our 911 center. And that's what we're trying to get away from, is have obsolete technology that we hope turns on every day in some cases, right? So I would take the fact that we're current over the ownership at the end of it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense
Okay.
because the new equipment will have GPS, and maybe there is something else coming in future and we'll have the
Good.
latest.
Correct. And some of the things we've talked about with Harris is some of their newer radios will come enabled with Wi-Fi, and additionally, or cellular, which then just increases our footprint even further, right, beyond the green map we saw when we have somebody who's leaving town for whatever reason. If they can take their radio and use it as a cellular component, makes it even better.
And another question I had was on page 5, Starcom covers 3 counties. Will County is not there, so how is Will County being covered?
What I think what they're trying to show there is that Starcom is the competitor. That's the Motorola component.
Okay.
That's what they're using.
Okay.
Right. So it just showing that out of the gate, we'd be able to immediately connect with those folks much easier than what we do today.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Thank you. That's all.
I have one question.
Alderman Mormon?
So that managed services, what would fall out of that scope that would require, a visit back to finance or anything like that? Or does that pretty much kind of catch everything? I mean, outside of something catastrophic.
Yeah, assuming that we stay at current levels, right? It'll be all things radio. Let's say that we, at some point, we either bring on another partner, like if we currently dispatch for North Aurora. If we chose to bring them fully in under this contract because they saw advantages of it too, we'd likely come back here. If we decided we do have growth built into the contract based upon our history on number of officers we've had. If we decide to either hire a lot more officers or equip more officers or firefighters with radios than we have, that goes outside of the kind of the growth scope we laid out in here, then we would come back.
Thank you.
Okay. There is some growth built in here, yeah, exactly.
For the tenant,
Yes, and yeah, Mike is right. We did build that in for the managed tenant. If we knew we have partners that we dispatch for already, like Fox Valley Park District and North Aurora. The only point I was trying to make is if that did push us past what we had estimated, we would need to come back here.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I got a follow.
Alderman Buck?
Yeah, thank you. Can we go back to 3 slides? First, the open sky indoor, 8 site design, and then we'll go to that one? Yeah, okay. Okay, to follow up on what Alderwoman Bade asked about. Under that 8 site design, that coverage, yeah, it missed all of Will County
So,
and part of Kendall County.
sorry to interrupt you, sir, and the difference is this is showing indoor coverage. We could get you an outdoor coverage map, which would be a little larger than this. What we were trying to show, the difference between open sky and P25 was the advantage of indoor coverage in this map,
Okay,
okay?
yeah, we'll definitely need that added.
Okay.
On the next one, it says service area shown in black. At least that's what it says on ours. It doesn't say that up there.
The green area denotes the area that's in coverage.
Okay, we have a different slide than you do?
Okay. I apologize for that. I will update the slide. What I attempted to do, and I may have missed this here, was I attempted to get the 2 slides to talk equally.
Okay.
Right. So in this case, the green is the coverage area here. Right. And the last one, it was the white was the coverage area.
Okay, excellent. And so in the coverage area, in the green, at the outer edges of it, you don't lose any coverage. Say, if you're the furthest point away from a site, and I'm estimating there's Phillips Park site all the way south is about 4.5, 5 miles. So that furthest point south, because we now go to that furthest point south,
Right.
there's no problem.
There is no problem, and you know, Alderman, we do have maps that show the outdoor coverage area. We'll get them included in here. You'll see that it is a much larger outdoor area than the city. It'll go all the way almost to the lakefront and well into central Illinois as a coverage. We attempted to kind of skinny this down and talk about our issues with indoor coverage in this space. Because to Alexander's point, you know, the outdoor coverage has been very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but the
And Alderman
indoor
Bug-
and outdoor coverage.
Both have been very good. And I think, if I understand you correctly, you're looking at the distance from that Phillips Park site down south, and what the team is telling me is the green completely covers that from this site, so there is no need to put another tower down there, correct?
So, and I believe, isn't Tower 3 is actually at Phillips Park? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
So that's what's denoted on there. Correct.
Okay, and this is the indoor coverage. The outdoor
That's
coverage
indoor coverage, correct.
Goes much further.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about this map is this is a portable talk-back, meaning a portable radio from the field has to be able to talk back to the transmitter at the site. And that's a lot harder than having a transmitter blast signal out over the area. And we have test grids built for the entire city and all the coverage. And we travel through those areas. We test every grid out. There's a bit error rate test. There's a DAC test, and there's a verbal. Two people sit in a truck and say, does this sound good to you? And it's not done until all three of those criteria are met. And every one of those areas you see have those grids that will be tested to your satisfaction.
Yeah, I fully understand that. Under the open sky indoor, we didn't have that type of coverage. Well, where is the 5% that's not covered then? Because I'm looking at the green covering everything. So 95% coverage.
So 95%, I believe what the chart was trying to say was 95% better coverage. Go back to that slide here, right? It's 95% better than what we would have had under open sky.
Okay,
Okay?
that makes sense.
Okay.
If you go back to the previous slide, Mike, 95% is the standard. You'll see that in any RFP that's written by a consultant because 100% is nearly impossible. But when you see that 3.4 DAQ as digital audio quality, that's the test we do. That's kind of like the quality of the voice as it comes through to dispatch. It doesn't mean that you can't still talk. It just isn't at that 3.4 threshold. So it's like talking on cellular. Maybe somebody's a little bit muzzled, but you can still hear them. The call can still be completed, and communications can happen. It's just not at that standard that was set by the governing bodies. So just wanted to clear that up.
If I can make one more point. This system was built at 20 dB indoor coverage. What does that mean? You don't have to be an engineer to understand it, but when you go inside a building, all of the concrete and the steel and everything else, it stops the signal. And we simulate that by simulating the attenuation. We're trying to simulate the amount of blockage there's going to be. And most systems are designed between 13 and 15% blockage, or dB. This was built for 20% blockage, or dB. So you've got a lot of very strong elements to the system design that will test out very well for you. And that's why the math is so good.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, Mike, if we want to go to the next one, I think it has the red boxes. One more. Yeah. There we go. So once we got this contract really in sort of a functioning space, then we came to Chris and Mr. Alexandru, Mr. Minnick and Mr. Alexandru, and started talking about how do we fit this into a budget, right? And after, I think, had a good discussion, we got the first year within the budget that we have so far, and that's what you'll see. The first 2 years, we're doing two big things. That's upgrading the 6 radio tower sites and refreshing all the radios themselves. And I would say those are the 2 really high-level things that are happening, and that's the capital outlay there. But you'll see years 3 through 10 are the same price, and that's really what we're after. And you'll see that listed in here in year 4, there's radios. In year 6, there's a refresh of the cores that are happening. And as new radios come out, we'll work with Harris to figure out how the new feature sets make sense for our public safety units and how to use those going forward. So this ends up with almost $580,000 annual savings over what we would have done otherwise if we kept buying these things a la carte. Okay. And if we go to the next page, Harris will partner with us. They have a grant assistance program as well. And then I just wanted to touch, I think, Chief Osmond, I think you want to talk about a couple of the grants you pursued here recently and how you continue to pursue those as well, other grants as well in this space.
Good afternoon, Deputy Chief Dan Husman again. Real quick, we work with a grant writer. I know the PD does also, and we continue to look for grants, obviously, to save money for our things that we need. Most recently, we just got a $300,000 grant for replacing our hose, our fire hose that we use, save the city that much money. Last year, we got a grant from the Assistance for Firefighters grant, it's called, was almost $1 million to replace our air packs. So I don't know of any $15.9 million grants out there, But I promise you, we will look, and if there are, we will pursue them. And as this project goes forward, we'll keep that at the top of the list to look for grants to fulfill or to try to satisfy some of these costs.
Mike asked me to say a little bit about our Lexipol grant program. We have a grant czar. This person's dedicated to monitoring all state and federal programs because they're coming out all the time. They come out for police, they come out for fire, they come out for 911, they come out for all sorts of different things, and they're interpreted differently. So we have people that are out there looking for those, interpreting those to make certain that we're looking at the right ones, and we can work with you. We can't fill the grants out for you. That wouldn't be proper. But we pay these guys to do all the front-end work so we can hand off a nice package to the guys here in Aurora that are actually performing those functions.
And just to add to that, obviously what we had seen, right, there were no grants available for an open sky system. There are grants that we can go chase after pretty hard that are built for P25 radio systems, which is the standard. Okay. So I go to the next one. So just to summarize, why we want to do the simpler migration and lower cost ownership here is, L3 Harris is a proven partner. I think you've seen the way they've collaborated even here today with how they worked with us 3 years. And they've got great relationships with our staff here, the technical staff. We'll develop a P25 system that meets our needs. We'll have, over the course of the 10 years, we'll have a significantly shorter migration path to the new technologies. And it's an operating system model. It's operating expenses model, OpEx model. There'll be no surprises coming down the road for additional costs, other than, again, like we talked about, if we decided to bring others into the contract that exceeded what we had estimated. We have already significantly invested in the technology. I assumed one of the questions I was going to get is, why didn't we just go look at everybody else? Why didn't we go look at someone else? Because we had just upgraded the cores back in 2020, right? We'd spent all of that money to get to a point where now we're capable, and the consoles had all been upgraded. Just to put a pitch in again, if you have not been over to see the new 911 center, go visit. That really is well done over there. So, that's all new equipment over there from the back-end console radio system. It didn't make sense to go out for bid for this and tear all of that out and throw all of that away that we had just paid for. That'll end the presentation here. I'll leave it open for some more questions if you have them.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Warman.
So you said this is the new standard, so eventually everybody like Naperville will have to move to this and any other surrounding communities that have this. So when you say it's the 3-year time frame, you said when everybody has to migrate to P25?
Yeah, it's funny about large standards like this, right? They come out and we see dates slip a little bit. But what we really wanted to do, like Mr. Alexander said earlier, was get out in front of this. We know we've had issues. We know we've had problems communicating with other agencies around us. Yes, everyone will ultimately have to get to P25. We just want to get there sooner and with a better solution.
Perfect. Yeah,
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Motion approved.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. One last comment. Excellent presentation. Thank you guys for coming. Just a little cleanup in the title. It's the L3 Harris. We need to take one of those L3s out
Okay.
because,
Thank you.
unless it's going to cost us $6 million extra, I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, now we'll go back to the normal sequence. A lot of them are with the TIF, so I'm gonna read all of them, and then I'm gonna let Mr. Dick talk about them all in aggregate. So the first one is 23-0973, an ordinance making minor amendments to the First Amendment to the redevelopment plan and project for the City of Aurora West Farnsworth Tax Increment Financing District Number 7. Next is 23-1006, an ordinance approving a First Amendment to the City of Aurora West Farnsworth Tax Increment Financing District Number 7 redevelopment project area plan and project. 23-1007, an ordinance designating the City of Aurora's West Farnsworth Tax Increment Financing District Number 7 amended redevelopment project area. 23-1008, an ordinance adopting tax increment financing for the City of Aurora West Farnsworth Tax Increment Financing District Number 7, amended redevelopment project area. 23-1009, an ordinance approving the City of Aurora Farnsworth Belter Tax Increment Financing District Redevelopment Project Area Redevelopment Plan and Project. 23-1010, an ordinance designating the City of Aurora Farnsworth Belter Tax Increment Financing District Redevelopment Project Area. 23-1011, an ordinance adopting tax increments financing for the City of Aurora Farnsworth Belter Tax Increment Financing District.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Committee members, Trevor Dick, Assistant Director of the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. As you recall, last Tuesday night, we had two public hearings, one for the first amendment, the existing West Farnsworth TIF District Number 7, as well as a public hearing for the creation of a new Farnsworth Belter TIF District. This afternoon, we're continuing the process of creating the TIF districts to support the new casino development. We've been doing this for approximately 9 months at this stage in the process. We're bringing forward what we've typically done for the creation of the micro TIF processes that we've been doing since probably the last 6 years. We've been doing the micro TIFs where we first carve out an existing area and creating a new micro TIF. And then we're at the stage right now where we move forward with the amendments that we'll be adopting in the new year in January to actually make these TIF districts, what's the word I'm looking for? TIF districts in, I'm blanking, official, thank you. I was waiting for charades or something, but, and this is, if you remember, this is where we first approve, then designate, and then adopt each of the ordinances. One thing that's unique this time is 23-0973. That's actually a minor amendment to the First Amendment, where as we started to do this process over a year ago when we started to do the TIF eligibility report, the PIN numbers actually changed. So this is going to clarify those. It's a minor amendment. It doesn't impact eligibility, but we wanted to button it up and make sure that everything was accurate when we get to formalizing the TIFs in the new year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bate?
Trevor, we are removing 8 tax parcels. What is the reason?
So, thank you, Alderwoman Bate. There's, in TIF District Number 7, the West Farnsworth TIF District that's been in place for years, these 8 parcels are inside of that TIF district. We have to remove those parcels from the existing TIF 7, and they'll be part of the new TIF district that's created to support the casino.
So this is the first amendment to the amendment.
And actually, I apologize. So that's the First Amendment we just talked about. That's pulling out the eight pins. It's a little confusing, so I'm glad you asked. That 23-0973, that's the one that's a little different. We're actually making a First Amendment to that amendment to clarify the pin numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, what I will do is I will read the number, and we will vote on each number. I won't read the title again since I read them all. We're all good with that?
We have the motion, right?
Well, we'll do each one.
Okay.
So first one is 23-0973. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Mormon, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next one is 23-1006. We have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Mormon, second by
Second.
by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And that opposed? Passes 5-0. Next one is 23-1007.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next is 23-1008. You have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next is 23-1009. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. Go ahead, Alderman Bug.
For the sake of going forward, do we know what TIF number Farnsworth Belter will be?
We're meeting actually later this afternoon to clarify the numbers, but we will have one in time as we move forward, yes. We have an internal mind, but we have to check with the county and make sure that they have the same numbering system, right, Chris?
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
You know, if it's a big number, a celebratory number, in the past, our colleague had his wife make cookies and other things. So if it is that, you know, Miss Dick will,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
will have to be anteing up
Motion to
treats
approve that.
for us.
She'll be, if
Just
you could
so
take
you
a
know.
motion on that, she'd love to hear that, but yes.
Motion to approve.
Well, we can make
No
a
pressure.
condition on that, motion, but I will do that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next is 23-1010, an ordinance designating the city of Aurora, oh, sorry, I don't need to read that. 23-1010. A motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderman Bog. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes 5-0. And lastly, 23-1011. We have a
Motion to
motion.
approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for letting us know about the cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We wouldn't have
A
known.
lot of pressure.
I think there's cakes, actually.
Oh, wow.
Cakes? Oh, Trevor, he was saying it was cakes, not cookies.
Cakes, cookies.
If we don't know, just bring both, just to make sure we cover ourselves. All right, so next thing on the agenda is 23-0788, a resolution authorizing the Third Amendment to the Second Amended and restated lease between Wholesome Mommer, formerly known as Lafarge Aggregates Illinois Incorporated, in the city of Aurora.
Good afternoon, Bob Lively, Superintendent of Water Production. I'll just start with a brief review of some technical items and a little history on this item for your benefit. As you know, the water treatment plant uses lime as a primary chemical in our treatment process in the form of calcium hydroxide. That helps clarify the water and soften the great water that we all know we have here in Aurora. But as a result of that process, that produces a chemical byproduct of calcium carbonate. And at the treatment plant, we have to dewater and dry that, and we call it different terms: lime residual material, lime sludge. They're all interchangeable. And after that product is sufficiently dry, then it has to be hauled away for permanent disposal. And for the first 20 years of the water treatment plant, the only place that material was ever disposed of was in landfills. And about 10 years ago, we took an alternate approach, and we looked at the possibility of using it as an agricultural or agronomic amendment for farm fields. And so we've been doing that now for a good decade. And through the same mechanism, we dry the sludge or the material, and then it gets hauled away by a contract that we have in place. And that's substantially less costly doing land application versus land filling. At the same time, the city has looked at a more efficient way of doing that and a more economical way of doing that than it's been done in the past. And where this amendment takes us is our business relationship with the Wholesome mine that's up on Route 25. That the city already has a business relationship there, as the city owns the subsurface rights to the mine. And so it came to our attention that it might be possible to continue to haul the material away in its dried state, but place it in the mine. So that was investigated several years ago. There was another engineered way that was designed to do that by pumping it up there, and ultimately that was determined to not be desirable for our purposes. Then we looked at just hauling it up there. That was going to be permitted, had to be permitted by the state. The state did not have anything on their books that would allow for ease of permitting that hauling method. So consequently, then the city took a different approach to try a legislative process, and just this year, a bill was passed. It's House Bill 3095, Public Act 1030333, that allows the city then to move forward with regulatory approval to do that by working with the Illinois Pollution Control Board. So that's the end goal, is to get that regulatory approval. That's still probably 2 years out, and the existing Third Amendment that addresses this is expiring December 31st. So we're seeking to extend that for 2 more years to allow for regulatory process to work and potential design and engineering of the drop shaft that will be drilled on that property to drop the sludge down into the mine. And then basically Wholesome then will take responsibility and place the sludge in the mined out areas. Questions?
Questions or comments? I'm sorry, Mr. Alexander, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Bob, and Ken, and the team for some great work on this. If you recall, we did receive approval, and the council did approve the project, the capital project for building a pipeline that would have been in a closed system to directly pump the lime residual into the empty mine shafts beneath the surface that we own. This process will replace, once we receive the regulatory approval, we will no longer need that permit because we're replacing that very expensive system with this much more manageable system that we've not only worked out with Wholesome Lafarge, but also now with the state of Illinois. So, kudos also to Senator Holmes and Representative Hernandez, who supported us down in Springfield with this initiative. So, long-term, this will save the water ratepayers millions of dollars with this much more efficient and safe process of moving the lime residual from the plant into the mine, managed by the professionals at Lafarge.
Questions? Alderman Bug?
So you talked about state regulation. There is no federal regulation hurdle that we need to pass?
No, this will go in front of the Illinois Pollution Control Board with negotiation between the city and IEPA ultimately for final regulatory approval.
Okay.
State IEPA.
Yep.
Right.
This
But
is
there is,
regulated by the state.
okay, yeah, there's no federal hurdle. Okay,
No.
excellent.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Bade. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. The next item is 23-0983, a resolution authorizing execution of the First Amendment to the agreement between the cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, the City of Aurora, and the Quad County Urban League.
Good afternoon, committee. Before you have an amendment to update the grant agreement for the Financial Empowerment Center Supervitamin Study. Just a little background on the Supervitamin. It's a study that tracks, when all else being equal, when workforce development programs that integrate financial empowerment counseling into their offerings, do they achieve more outcomes or better outcomes? And when I say outcomes, I mean increasing credit score, eliminating debt, and also addressing the underbanked population. The
Tasha, can I
amendment
stop you
provides.
real quick, just to
Sure.
mention your name and title for the record?
I'm sorry,
Your name and title for the record?
skip that. Tasha Moss, Program Manager for the Innovation and Strategy Division.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. The amendment provides additional funding of $5,000 and extends the grant end date to June 30th of 2025. And we will get research relative to that report that will support the Financial Empowerment Center initiatives. Any
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Bates, second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Tasha.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0995, a resolution authorizing purchase of property boiler machinery, fine arts, cyber and excess cyber liability, crime, special events liability, drone liability, general liability, law enforcement, auto liability, excess liability, excess workers' compensation, and liquor liability insurance policies for the period of December 31st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024.
Good afternoon, Deb Lang on behalf of the Law Department and Jennifer Jordan, our Risk Management Paralegal. You have in your Legistar items what went out to bid and what came back on the different levels. Do you have your paperwork? No. Of insurance that we're asking. There was an increase But that is with what is happening out in the market, and we believe we've got some really good rates. You'll see that we have the excess insurance on there, the fine arts, cyber, all of them have the rates or percentage of change, or if it went up or down in your exhibits. And we have our brokers here as well if you have questions on the different policies that came out.
Questions or comments from the committee? So our general increase was about 7%?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
And you said that was basically what's happening in the entire industry?
Correct. With inflation costs, if there are issues with property loss, the cost it would require to rebuild takes into account that, so that and different incidents in the past few years have increased rates.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to note,
Oh, my God.
just to note, the good news is we've been able to maintain all of our coverages, as in past years. We've been able to maintain our deductible for the various coverages with no increases there, and the same 35 million in total umbrella coverage. And a lot of the credit goes to these two ladies, as well as our hub team. I just want to recognize Stephen Morkos and Walter Braunschweig. They've helped us manage through some pretty tumultuous times the last couple of years, especially this past year. The property market has gotten hit hard, not necessarily, thankfully, from any claims we may have had, but in the marketplace. And so the fact that we're able to insure our $560 million budget and operations basically for $2.5 million and have full coverage is a testament. And everybody has contributed to this year. Every department's worked hard to manage risk, work with our team. We do a great job subrogating to keep our losses down. So that's a team effort. So I want to recognize Deb and Jennifer, as well as our team, because obviously behind every great result is a great team. So we're very fortunate, and it helps us continue to be a self-insured entity, being good stewards of the city's finances.
So I have a question, general question, umbrella question. As in, when we get insurance ourselves, it's a little bit different, but, you know, if I had a lot of claims, my insurance goes way up. If I don't have a lot of claims, it still goes up, but it goes up less. Do we get any kind of benefit if the risks that we're managing are really not a factor as far as paying out insurance policies for that? I mean, do we get a benefit of that, or do we get hit if we do have a lot of claim type of situations?
Well, here's a perfect example. In the first exhibit, if you look at cyber, you see in the first layer a 0 increase. In the excess layer, you see almost a 4.4% decrease. That didn't happen by accident. Our IT team has worked very hard with legal and myself and risk to put into place many of the necessary safeguards that, knock on wood, has led to no claims. And so the application process this year was much more extensive. We had to provide a lot more detailed information, and the underwriters recognized that. And despite what you may see in that market, they rewarded us, if you will, with no increase on the one level and a reduction. And so, knock on wood, we want to keep that going. Even in the property arena, even though this shows a almost 24% increase in the actual rate compared to last year, the average rate to value, which is what you really want to look at, is 15.5%. But what did it start at, Stephen? Close to 30?
Yeah, in the mid-20s.
Yeah, so it was in the mid-20s. So we continue to refine, and, you know, Jim Birchall and his team do a great job with our public facilities. So again, unlike at home with our homeowners insurance, where it's really you and your spouse and your kids, we don't have a team managing I mean, I don't at least. I manage my own public facility at home with my wife, but we have the luxury here of having a team doing this every single day. Ken's team, watching how they drive. A lot of times, we can do the best we can, but somebody else hits us.
Right.
That's life, so we manage that as best we can.
So in
And
essence-
I'd like to add that we're in the midst of risk management training right now, which is really helping because we've had a lot of department heads and division heads come in and say, I didn't realize exactly how in-depth this program went and exactly how much it benefits all of us to work with you. So that training that we're doing right now, and we're going into our third training, has been very helpful and instrumental in being as efficient and successful in collecting.
So in essence, if we do a good job with our own stuff and we take care of
Exactly.
things, we could get a discretionary lower rate because of our job we're doing. which
I mean,
is kinda what I
we're
was-
handling a lot of stuff internally. Deb and I work really close together and trying to manage anything, claim related, unless it's massive, where we're sending it out and asking for outside counsel help or things like that, where you've seen things come across the table. We're able to manage a lot internally and amongst ourselves, and the training that we're doing has really been effective.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
I'll go Alderman Tolliver, then go Alderman Bug.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I would say just to kind of follow up and piggyback off of what Alex was saying, and I won't repeat a lot of it, but generally speaking, as an underwriter, I went through this. I mean, it just pretty much goes to show the partnership that the city of Aurora has with Hub, because kind of like how you were saying at first, the computer's going to spit out a random number. And then as an underwriter, we work with the customer. They filled out the paperwork. They got all that supplemental information. The underwriter saw that. It was, okay, they got that, check it off, give them a credit. They got that, check it off, give them a credit. That's exactly what's happening here. The rate increases that they were talking about earlier with property, that's definitely across the board. We see it for my company at the Hartford as well. The coverages that we have on here in general are more than adequate. I think it's a really good plan. Looking at this, I had no qualms with this at all. So just kind of throwing that in there from an insurance underwriting standpoint.
Good to know. Thank you. Alderman Bug.
Yeah, I'm going to continue on with the property, taking the two documents together, the legislation text and that other document. The overall increase for property with Chubb is 39%. But it says above that, probably more important, we do a renewal with Chubb as they continue to offer a very comprehensive coverage platform with certain coverage items that are not available with competing markets. What are those coverage items that are not available with the competing markets? What could we only get from Chubb? What did Chubb offer that when we went out and looked at the markets, they were not offering us?
Yeah, well, first of all, good afternoon. My name's Steve Marcus with Hub International. Nice to see everyone. A few things. The property, I'm going to echo what was said here on the property, and also thank the team here, as everybody expressed, Deb and Jennifer and Alex. Everybody's been tremendous to work with, and there's a lot of information that we have to gather every year in order to be able to present this. So thank you all for your help. With respect to the property, the values are up about 7.5%. If you look at slide 8, you can see the total insurable value went from 489 million, excuse me, to 524 million. So we end up with about a 7% increase in values. The rate itself, also on slide 8, the rate is only going up 15%, but because of the increase in the overall values, we're at about almost a 24% increase. I'm not sure where the 39 came from.
Yeah, I think, Alderman, you maybe combined the 23 and the 15 there, but what you need to look at, the way you get to that 23.8 is adding the 7.5 basically of the total value to the average rate.
Right.
So that's how that comes out to 23.9.
That's what I did at first, but then in the legislation text, it says Chubb will require 39% rate hike.
We might have to
market
fix that, let's see. I'm sorry, you said that's
I'm
in
not
the-
seeing.
That's in the cover memo?
That was an
Yeah,
Yeah.
page,
Oh,
That was
Let
an
me see.
error.
yeah, I think that's an error,
That's an error.
Yeah,
Alderman. But
we'll fix it for COW. Good catch, though.
yeah, to answer your question about a few things, and I may have Walter come up and help me with this, but a few things I can tell you about the property market in general, and Chubb, this policy. First of all, when it comes to the kind of limits, the insurable values we have, there are a handful of carriers that, only a handful of carriers that have the capacity to take on this much value. There are some sublimits in here that we cannot get in the standard marketplace, and we've talked to Travelers, we've talked to Liberty, Hartford is one of those carriers that can provide those kind of insurable value limits, but it primarily boils down to these sublimits that Chubb is providing that what we think are better than what we see out in those other markets I just mentioned. So I don't know if that properly answers your question, but that's where I would think what we're referring to in that document.
Yeah, it's fine. Once we take out the typo, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
any other questions or comments from the committee? Alderwoman Bade.
Deb, could you go over what is covered under fine arts?
Yeah, let me find that.
I can, while he's looking for the exact, I can tell you, generally speaking, historically, it's covered all the city's public art that we own, the swimming stones, the murals, anything that we have out in the public right away. The Greek monument, which is, certainly one of the more important additions to the city's collection in many.
For sure, we're covering the Greek monument.
Oh, I'm sorry, was that a point of order?
So, Alderwoman, I don't have the exact schedule. We don't have it in our proposal. We have that on file. But I could tell you the limit's about $1.2 million on slide 26. $1,131,000, and it's a $1,000 deductible. That's actually a carve-out policy that we place with Hanover. It's not part of the Chubb policy.
GAR Museum too?
The GAR, yes, I think the exterior items are, the GAR itself is covered under the property
Buildings and properties.
and the contents.
Yeah, and we have the schedule, but we could send we could provide the schedule, the breakdown of that $1.1 million.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Real quick, if that Greek monument costs whatever, what is an Italian monument going to cost? We want to make sure it's cost effective because it's coming.
I know the answer. Alex will say that being a sponsor.
When you bring your group to us, we're happy to work with them. They bring their check.
That's why we put a dollar limit on there, because we realize it's all subjective, right?
Well, it is,
So
right.
we do have a limit on there.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentations. Do we have a motion? Motion approved. We have a motion by Alderman Warmer, a second by Alderman Tolliver.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next item is 23-0996, a resolution authorizing a one-year extension of an agreement with Vision MAI LLC for the governmental affairs consulting services of Bakula Bello.
Good afternoon, Finance Committee. Alex Voigt with the Mayor's Office. What you have before you is a request for a one-year extension for the lobbying services of Vision MAI, and that's Bucola Bello. Bucola has been representing the city of Aurora since 2020. We're very happy with her services. The presentation was included in the Mayor's Office budget presentation. We are asking for a 3.5% increase for Ms. Bello, but the other terms in her agreement remain the same, and this is a one-year agreement. And I can take any questions.
Questions or comments? With that, we have a motion by Alderman Bug. Do we have a second? We have a second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. And the next one is 23-0997, a resolution authorizing a one-year extension of an agreement with Roger C. Marquardt and Company for the governmental affairs consulting services of Scott Marquardt.
Yes, so Scott Marquardt, the Roger C. Marquardt and Company, they have been working with the city in the fall of 2022. But similar to Ms. Bello, we are looking for a 3.5% increase for his services as well, and this is a one-year agreement. The rest of the terms remain the same.
Questions or comments? The committee?
So move to approve.
Hearing none, we have a motion by Alderman Bug. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Alex. Next item is 23-1001, a resolution authorizing payment to testing for Public Safety LLC as the provider of services for 2023 Fire Department promotional testing process.
Good afternoon, Alicia Lewis, Chief Human Resources Officer. This is a request for us to basically pay the bills. IPSP is the testing organization that works with our police department to do promotional testing. We've gone through a series of testing, and the cost of that exceeds the $50,000 threshold. That we have to come to council for approval to pay the bill when we exceed that amount.
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion? Oh, Alderwoman Bay, go ahead.
So this is for both departments, police department and fire department?
No, this is just, this bill is for the testing for police.
So the title says fire department and legislation text says police department.
Because they help us establish a promotional list for both. So they support the police and fire.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm sorry,
Motion to
we have a motion by Alderman Bay. Did we have a second? Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next item is 23-1014, resolution authorized Director of Purchasing to enter into an enterprise service agreement with Selectron Technologies for multiple interactive voice response systems.
Good afternoon again, Chairman Franco, members of the committee, Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO. The city has used a Selectron suite of products for years now. That is when you want to dial in on your phone and pay your bill, pay your water bill, look up services or pay for services through the Development Services Center. What we have done in the past is sort of bought those out of departments, if you will, and bought those functions and had different contracts with different end dates, et cetera. And after we looked at what was going on with our 23-240 when we brought the SelectText product earlier this year, we had further conversations internally and further conversation with Selectron about how to pull this together and make this an enterprise level contract that then it would be open for all departments to use for all their services, as well as make all the services coterminous. And then the last thing we did was we wanted to move this to the cloud. Right now, we're maintaining all of this infrastructure in our data center, which means we have to pay for the Microsoft licenses and buy the hardware and those kinds of things. In this case, we'll move it to the private Selectron cloud, which decreases our risk, makes them responsible for all this. It also increases our payment card industry or PCI compliance agreement there, because technically when somebody calls in and pays with their credit card, that credit card number is transmitted across our network, right? That would not be the case when we move to the private Selectron cloud. So I'll stop and take questions.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-1016, a resolution to accept a contract with Wireframe Studio Incorporated to lease 2 installations of Aurora's October 2024 Public Art Light Festival.
Hi, Jen Byrne, Director of Public Art.
Deb Lang, Law Department.
So I just had some images and video clips ready if you wanted to see what these projects are. The first slide, or I guess the second slide, is an image of the 3 projects on one slide. And these pertain to this item as well as 23-1027.
Let me read that right in now, because I was going to go there right after this anyway to keep you up there. So we have another one, 23-1027, a resolution to accept a contract with Creos Experts Conceals Incorporation to lease Sonic Runway and installation for Aurora's October 2024 Public Art Light Festival.
Yes, thanks. So that item you can see on the left here, it's, we're going to have, I think, 23 LED hoops. I've got a little video on here as well, as sort of it explains it a lot better. So Creos is Sonic Runway, so that would be one lease from that company, and we would be leasing 2 projects from Wireframe. There's a discount when you rent more than one. If we want to look at so these are kind of, I just want to sort of scroll through these, they're a little bit long. But if you want to show this one, this is exposure. So this is the first one from Wireframe. I could mime it. All right. Does the next one work? This is just a picture? Well, all right. So what it does, can you go back to that first?
Well, I vote for the mime. Let's go with
Okay, so, yeah, so, all right, so what I was trying to show you there with exposure was, it's 3 vinyl self-inflated spheres. The largest one is the activated one, that's 15 feet. The other 2 are 6 feet and 8 feet respectively in diameter. So when this will be, as all 3 of them will be on display October 4th, the first Friday of October, through the first Friday of November, November 1st. So they'll be up for 4 weeks, and that's part of the guidelines of the DCEO grant that we got that'll be funding these projects. And will be the longer portion of the event that will all sort of culminate Columbus Day weekend for 3 nights. So this exposure project, when the public, when a member of the public goes in front of it and they have like a flashlight on their phone and illuminate their face, the technology captures their image, and then they can move the flashlight around and kind of paint around their image. So it's sort of painting with light on this big sphere, and there's sound, and it glows, and it's very engaging. The other one is shadowing from Wireframe. So this is it is a set of 4 units that would go in place of a regular street lamp. So it will record with infrared and imaging software. It'll record just the shadow. So it's not recording anybody's image or anything like that, just sort of the shadow that falls on the ground from the street lamp anyway. And then it plays it back for the next passerby. So people notice this subtle activity on the street. So that's a nod to our history as the first city being lit fully by street lamps. And then lastly, the Creos project, Sonic Runway, will be these 23 hoops that are speaking to the speed of sound and visualizing that. So with the music, it moves around around the hoops, and then this is the miming, and then down the hoops. So you're in this kind of portal. The video really shows how engaging it is, and that'll be up for 4 weeks.
Okay, so can we get a video?
Yes.
I mean, it'd be kind of neat to see it, right? Especially to show us COW. I mean, we can see the COW. That's
Yeah, I mean, if we can get it to, we'll put it together, but can you, I'm sorry, Jen, can you come back up here? Do we have I'd like for the public and the media, do you have the run a show that with the dates and everything? Do you have that slide here or no?
No.
It's not part of this?
No.
Okay.
No.
So can you just briefly describe, so the dates again, And this is not the complete, we have more things coming. So these are just the first 3 in the queue to get approval for. I think we have one more at least coming for now, and we'll have it to you probably at the next finance meeting. But again, I just want to remind everybody, I mean, and Jen has been great. She's been so focused on pulling this together. We got this amazing grant opportunity. We budgeted for it. But these are items that in looking at other communities and other light shows around the world, basically, where these have been deployed, they attract people, they capture people's attention. And remember, the ultimate goal of this is to create another successful festival for our downtown, to bring and attract people to downtown, to support our restaurants, support our businesses, support ACA, and create a buzz and excitement, much like Kindle Market has done, much like the Winter Lights Festival, much like other art-centered. This is just light art. And we're very excited on the 3rd floor about this. Deb in the law department has helped Jennifer with these contracts. You know, these are not your standard typical contracts because we're basically renting artwork, even though it's light. But that's kind of the whole point of a light festival. So more to come. We'll definitely bring videos for COW. And we're going to do a lot of marketing on this. We're working with our partners. We expect this to be another in a long line of very successful events for the downtown.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah.
Alderman Buck.
Thank you, Jen. It says in our text here, October 4th to November 1st. So it's before we move the clocks. How dark does it have to be to get full effect on these? What time is this, like I mean, so at like 5:30, 6:30, at that time, it may be too light out to get full effect. You tell me.
That's a great question. Thank you. So I've been fixating on that quite a bit. And yes, I was sorry that the clocks change when they do next year. So my biggest concern is for the 3-night event, because we'll have outdoor projection mapping on exterior building surfaces, and that's when it'll really matter. Sunset on October 11th, 2024 is 6:17. I think by within the next half hour, we'll really be able to see the projections nicely. It does not need to be as dark to enjoy these. I saw Sonic Runway in San Jose in October, this October, and they liked it so much that San Jose commissioned a permanent Sonic Runway to go in front of their city hall. And it did not need to be fully dark out to really enjoy that experience.
And also, Alderman Bug, based on the tremendous success of our holiday lights displayed around the downtown and at River Edge Park, we have to work with our downtown folks. So around the beginning of November is when we're going to transition to start putting up the holiday displays. Sure. So it's a bit of a balance, but I think we're going to make the necessary adjustments. And remember, we're not putting a timer on these things, so by 9, 10 o'clock at night, regardless, it'll be dark enough for people to enjoy these. And what's that?
At least 7. Yeah.
At least what?
At least 7 p.m. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
but again, I think we'll make the necessary adjustments, and then just like our other events, we'll make post adjustments for future years, because we really want to make this an annual affair.
Yeah, and if I may offer one more thing, geographically, the closest thing to this is in Cincinnati, and that festival is called Blink. So there isn't something just like this in Chicago or really anywhere around Chicago, an annual festival of lighted public art. I have some really interesting research and on the ROI that's had for Cincinnati, and it's a pretty exciting project that we have coming up.
And the gentleman that is advising us, our light consultant, is responsible for the world's largest light projection display, which is currently downtown Chicago, the Merchandise Mart. So if you've not been down there, it's a spectacular display. George, right? Isn't that my friend George? So George is really a subject matter expert on these light displays. So we're very fortunate to have him as part of the team, along with Jen and the rest of our team.
Great, thanks. Alderman Begg, you have a question?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the presentation, Jen. You mentioned about sound with the Sonic Walk. So the sound, is it the music that is going to go on all the time, or when people are entering those hoops?
That's a really good question as well. So that's something that I'm looking for feedback from stakeholders in the community. What I see happening is that all 28 nights, it will be lighted. And I think together we will determine, do we want the sound on just on the weekends? Or, is that something that's at a very low level, at a certain time from 7 to 9? I think it's not required for the sound to be on. So that's something that I think we can figure out together what works best for our community.
There could be two different things. One is when we are playing the music, which is constantly going on, that is one sound. And the other sound is when kids or people are going inside those hoops and they are saying something in that sound. So I wasn't sure what kind of sound we were planning to have there.
Yeah, I'm really sorry the
That
videos
also-
didn't
okay.
upload, but they have a lot of electronic music. We can choose what music we want. So it will reflect what we decide we would like.
It's not person's voice, it is music.
Right, yeah, it's music. So it goes to the beats and the melody, and you can see the light dance, and then you're immersed in this dancing light tunnel. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. That sounds
Any other
exciting.
comments or questions?
Motion to
Hearing none,
approve.
let's go for the first one, 23-1016. This is the contract with Fireframe Studio. Do we have a motion by Alderwoman Bates, second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. And the next one is 23-1027. That's the Creos Experts
Motion to
contract.
approve.
We have motion by Alderwoman Bates, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0 also. Thank you, Jen, wherever you are. There you are, I see you, okay. Next one is 23-1019, a resolution authorizing Director of Purchasing to execute a 3-year agreement between the City of Aurora and the Pipes and Drums of the Aurora Police and Illinois Not-for-Profit Corporation.
Good afternoon. I'm Sergeant Matt Fick with the Aurora Police Department, also the Secretary of the Pipes and Drums of the Aurora Police Department. Just speak to you briefly about the band. The Pipes and Drums of the Aurora Police is a volunteer organization comprised of retired and current Aurora police officers. Our band objective is to foster great appreciation, respect, and partnerships amongst the citizens of Aurora and the Aurora Police Department. Our band participates in departmental ceremonies, including but not necessarily limited to swearing-in ceremonies, promotion ceremonies, the Officer of the Year ceremonies, funerals for active and retired members, the APD Police Week ceremony, King County Police Week ceremony, the Aurora 9/11 ceremony, and Police Academy graduations. Our members of the band are dues-paying volunteers. These dues that our members pay is our primary source of funding, so we pay for things ourselves. Our main expense currently is our drum instructor and our pipe instructor, which each charge $100 an hour for lessons, and we try to have them out bi-weekly each. The pipers in the band purchase their own bagpipes. A set of bagpipes costs about $1,500. The kilts are property of the band. Our kilts are currently 20 years old. Each kilt's about $600 to $800. We're looking to get more, and we're looking to grow our band as members have retired. And while retired officers can be members, often in retirement, it's tough to get them to stop being retired and come back in, so they're not as reliable, but we still have a few that show up. We have our pipe major, so our head piper is retiring next week, so we're going to be losing him. I've been a member of the band since it started 20 years ago. I've got about 8 left, so just kind of looking at succession planning, and we're kind of having a little trouble recruiting people, and some of the things we hear is the financial obligation up front. So we've been working with the mayor's office and have come up with this plan, and hopefully then to help kind of ease some of those strains.
Mr. Manick?
And Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer for the city. The agreement that's in your packet tonight is proposed as a 3-year agreement covering years 2023, 2024, and 2025. And the goal of the agreement is to provide financial support in support of the Pipes and Drums organization to help defray some of the costs that Sergeant Fichtel was talking about here a moment ago. In return for the annual financial contribution that the city would provide to the Pipes and Drums, the Pipes and Drums would provide the city with performances at a minimum of 5 special events on an annual basis. The intent would be that we would make the contribution, and they would provide bagpiping performances at these individual events. The annual financial contribution is subject to the budgeted amounts that we would put into the budget or include in the budget as part of the process each year. And the agreement does cap the suggested or the allowed contribution at $30,000 on an annual basis. Currently, we do have $20,000 budgeted in '23. $20,000 will be made available in the '24 budget. And the other stipulation is that while these contributions or these funds can be utilized to help defray performance expenses and lessons and uniforms and clothing and things of that nature, it cannot be used to provide compensation to the members for their performances. So no salaries, no wages, no pay for performance. It strictly goes to help offset some of those costs that they incur based on the volunteer nature of the organization. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sure. Questions or comments? Alderman Bug?
So I understand it is for expenses, and I appreciate that. And so we're going back to January 1, 2023.
Yes.
I mean, they do a fantastic job. If they are able to provide expenses even back further, 2022, will they be able to submit for that? I mean, really, I'm shocked that we didn't have an avenue or a revenue source to support them in the past. I didn't know that. I know a number of aldermen would have been happy to help out in that way in the past. But I hold up the mayor's office and the powers that be that put this together now. But, I mean, for them to dig out of their pockets and the service that they do at these important events, I mean, it's above and beyond. So if they are able to provide back receipts, will they be able to get reimbursement in that way?
We had not contemplated that as part of the agreement. It would be possible, but I would caution that the agreement, we're entering into essentially a contract with them, and the contract does cover the 3 calendar years that I had indicated a moment ago. If that is direction, we could take that under advisement and perhaps do some type of reimbursement. But I would think we would need to bring that back as a separate item and not as part of this. That would be my suggestion.
And Alderman Bug, maybe just to expound on that a little bit, we're financially stable at the moment. It's just a very shoestring budget with what we do have. And again, it's mostly us providing that through dues. We do have some fundraising and occasionally take in a donation. We are a separate non-for-profit organization.
Understandable.
So we are not a city organization, just affiliated with the Aurora Police Department to represent the Aurora Police Department, with our own set of bylaws and our own board and whatnot. So we're not looking to go back. I appreciate the kind words and the thought, but moving forward to grow the band is what we're looking for.
Alderman Warren? Now, would this be something, this is more of an ask for me, is there, we could use ward funds and things like this to support this? Would they be able, with there being a 501c, would we be able to use ward funds to support them in the future?
Yes, that would also be an additional avenue, kind of over and above this contract, if an alderman or all of the aldermen decided that they would like to provide funding support as a 501c3. I believe under the contemplated new discussion item with the ward funds, that would be allowable.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
So moved to approve.
All right, hearing none, we have a motion by Alderman Bug, we have a second by Alderwoman Bate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good afternoon.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 23-1025, a resolution superseding, all previous resolutions pertaining to and amending salary and benefit plans for employees in the non-exempt pay plan.
Alicia Lewis, again, Chief Human Resources Officer. And what you have before you is recommendation to approve the pay plan for the non-exempt group of employees for the city of Aurora. Every year we come before council to move our pay plans forward. It reflects our COLA, which for 2024 is a 3.5% increase for that group of employees. So that is the primary reason for moving it forward. The COLA's already been approved through the budget process, and so our pay plan just reflects what council really has already approved. In addition, you will see, some changes that we made, clarification, tweaks in the language. We've done some reformatting for next year to better align the language in the pay plans. And I think there was something else. So that's generally what I have. Is there any questions on the pay plan?
Questions or comments? We have a motion to approve by Alderman Bug. We have a second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. And next one is 23-1026, resolution superseding all previous resolutions pertaining to and amending salary and benefit plans for employees in the executive pay plan.
So again, this is before the committee to approve the executive pay plan. The executive, so the non-exempt group are our hourly employees. Our executive group are salaried employees, and primarily our higher level positions and management positions. The pay plan reflects the same COLA, the 3.5%, which again has been approved through the budget process, but is reflected in the pay plan. So if you have any questions. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to point out in the executive pay plan, and that is it also reflects an adjustment for grades 14 and above. We did the Hay study, as we said we do a Hay study every 5 years to look at where we are in comparison to the positions compared in the market, as well as our internal equity. And the Hay study did show that those positions that are in grade 14 and above were on the lower end of the market, meaning that we're paying really in the 25 percentile of what's out there in the market. The grades below grade 11, we're in a good place. We're right there in the middle. We're marketable. So there was not a recommendation to make any adjustments. Obviously, we want to stay competitive. We want to get good folks coming into our organization. And so we did make an adjustment based on Hayes' recommendation to move grades 11 and above up into the 50% percentile. We could go 75%, we could go 100, but I call us being conservative, and so that is also reflected in our pay plans.
Questions or comments?
Yeah.
Alderman Bug.
Just in your last statement, at first you said 14 and above, and then you said 11 and above.
It is grades 14 and above.
Okay.
Yes. I apologize if I said 11.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Hearing none, we have a motion by Alderwoman Bade. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have nothing else to come before the Finance Committee. We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Oh,
Second.
that was your motion?
First.
All right, motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderwoman Bay. Before we vote on that, I just want to say, I don't believe we're going to have enough Finance Committee meeting before. Oh, we are?
Yes.
Then I'll save my Happy New Year for later. We are going to meet next week.
Appreciate the sentiment.
Well, it'll be there.
We have some items we're going to respectfully like to start at 4 PM if we can. We don't have a lot of items.
Well, that'll be next Thursday?
Yeah, next Thursday.
All right, well, that's interesting. I'll mention today because ETSB meeting is at 3 o'clock in Naperville, which I typically try to make. So pushing this to 4 was going to be a thing probably anyway. And so we'll plan on right now, we'll get an email about starting that meeting at 4 o'clock next Thursday. And your Merry Christmas.
Work through Rich.
And we work through Rich. Okay, all in favor, say aye to adjourn.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? And we are adjourned at 4:43. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.